Let's now cut across to United Kingdom, where Prime Minister Boris Johnson is currently answering questions before the Christmas recess period. Let's listen in.
Mr. Speaker, there he goes again. He comes to this House pompously claiming that he wants to rise above party politics and support the efforts of the nation in delivering the vaccine rollout, and then he talks endlessly about party politics and plays political games. I think what the people of this country can see is as a result of what this government has done, with the decisions we've taken, the tough decisions that we've taken to deliver, which he ducked, Mr. Speaker, to deliver the fastest vaccine rollout in Europe and now the fastest booster rollout. We now have, Mr. Speaker, the fastest growing economy in the G7 and more jobs today, 500,000 more jobs today than there were when the pandemic began. That is Conservative government in action, Mr. Speaker. We deliver, they complain.
Mr. Speaker, the only person undermining public confidence is sitting right there. Here's the problem. His MPs are wrong to vote against basic public health measures, but they are not wrong to distrust him. Last week, the Conservative member for the Forest of Dean asked, why should people at home listening to the Prime Minister do things that people working in Downing Street are not prepared to do? Tory MP. The Conservative member for Shipley last week asked the Prime Minister, can he give me any reason at all why I shouldn't tell my constituents to treat these rules the same way that Downing Street treated these rules last year? Now, the Prime Minister's had a week to come up with a good answer. Has he done so?
Mr. Speaker, the answer is very, very clear, and it's there in what the public are doing, Mr. Speaker, because they can see that the government is getting on with delivering on their priorities, not just on the economy, Mr. Speaker, but above all on delivering the fastest booster rollout in Europe. And he's fond of these European comparisons, Mr. Speaker, but we've done almost double the percentage of any other European country. We've boosted 86% of the over-80s in this country, 91% of those aged 75 to 79. That is an astonishing achievement, and I think that is what the people of this country are focused on, Mr. Speaker. And rather than the partisan trivia that he continually raises, when frankly he has a case to answer himself.
I think that's no, he hasn't come up with a good answer. For weeks now, he claims that no rules were broken. He claims he didn't know what was happening in his own house last Christmas. I don't believe him. His MPs don't believe him, and nor do the British public. He's taking the public for fools, and it's becoming dangerous, because from today, anyone who tests positive for coronavirus faces a second Christmas in isolation. It will be heartbreaking for families across the country. The message from the government has to be, we know that following the rules won't be easy this Christmas, but it is necessary. Can the Prime Minister not see that he has no hope of regaining the moral authority to deliver that difficult message if he cannot be straight with the British public about the rule breaking in Downing Street last Christmas?
Mr. Speaker, I've repeatedly answered that question before, and as he knows, a report is being delivered to me by the Cabinet Secretary into exactly what went on. He might explain why there are pictures of him quaffing beer, Mr. Speaker. We haven't heard. I think what the British public want us all to do, frankly, and what they want us all to do is focus on the matter in hand and continue to deliver the vaccine rollout in the way that we are. And I think it is an absolutely fantastic thing that people are now coming forward in the way that we are, the way that they are. 45% of people over 18 have now had a vaccine, Mr. Speaker, and I thank our amazing staff. I thank the NHS. I thank all the GPs. I thank the GPs, and we are. Well, you blocked the investment in there. Mr. Speaker, they wouldn't vote for it. They wouldn't vote for investment investment in our NHS, Mr. Speaker. They wouldn't do it. I thank them for what they're doing. I can tell the House that we're now speeding things up by allowing people to avoid the 15-minute delay after they've been vaccinated, which I hope will encourage even more people to come forward.
Mr. Speaker, the virus is spreading once again, and lives and livelihoods are at risk. The British public are looking for a Prime Minister with the trust and the authority to lead Britain through the crisis. Instead, we're burdened with the worst possible Prime Minister at the worst possible time. They're shouting now. Where were they in the lobby last night? His own MPs have had enough. They won't defend him. They won't turn up to support him. And if he proposes them, they won't vote for basic public health measures. So at this time of national effort, the Labour Party stood up, shown the leadership that the Prime Minister can't, and put the health and security of the British people first.
This is silly because I can't hear the question. I will hear the question. I don't think we need any more help from this front bench. I'm just dealing with this corner first before I come back. Can I just say, I understand it's the last PMQs and we're going to be coming back in the new year, but I do need to hear the question. And it may take a long time, but I will hear it. So please, I want to get through questions. I want you all to get away for Christmas. At this stage, you won't. Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is so weak that without Labour votes last night, vital public health measures wouldn't have got through. But this country can't... Says it's not true. Oh, God. I haven't got... It's not true. He's so socially distant from the truth. He thinks that that's not true. I don't know where to... We better press on. We can't go on with a Prime Minister who's too weak to lead. So will the Prime Minister take time this Christmas to look in the mirror and ask himself whether he has the trust and authority to lead this country?
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We won that vote last night with Conservative votes, as I told the House. I respect the feelings and I respect the anxieties that colleagues have about... Of course I do. I respect and understand the anxieties, the legitimate anxieties that colleagues have about restrictions on their liberty, but I believe, and on the liberty of people, but I believe that the approach that we're taking is balanced and proportionate and right for this country. And let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, let me tell the House about some of the... He talks about leadership, some of the decisions, the tough decisions that I've had to take. I had to decide to stay out of the European ventilator scheme, so we had our own ventilator challenge, which he then ridiculously attacked. I decided to go ahead of the rest of Europe, with the vaccine rollout, Mr. Speaker, which would have been impossible if we'd listened to him. I decided to go ahead with opening up our society and our economy on July the 19th, which he opposed, Mr. Speaker, which he opposed. And frankly, if we'd listened to him, never forget, we would not now have the fastest economic growth of the G7. It's because we took those courageous steps, Mr. Speaker, that we now have 500,000 more people in work now than there were when the pandemic began. And yesterday I saw 1.2 million job vacancies, Mr. Speaker. That is what Conservative governments do. They create employment. They create business opportunities. And above all, Mr. Speaker, we vaccinate, they vacillate. They jabber, we jab. They play party politics, Mr. Speaker, and we get on with the job.
I'm amazed. I'm absolutely amazed that some of you wanted to catch my eye. Obviously you don't. Thanks for that. It's making my life easier. So don't be shocked when I wasn't going to put you in for that special question today. Let's come to the man of the moment, Dr. Liam Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we look forward to 2022, one of the dates that stands out for me is the 21st of March, which will be International Down Syndrome Day. In thanking the government for the support, and indeed thanking all parties in the House for the support for the Down Syndrome Bill, can I ask the Prime Minister if he will give his personal commitment to ensure that we get that bill on the statute book before International Down Syndrome Day, when we will be the first country in the world to do so? We talk about global Britain. It can't just be about trade and diplomacy. It must also be about values. Wouldn't that be a great place for Britain to start?
My right honourable friend is a wonderful campaigner on this issue. He's completely right about Down syndrome people. They can have poorer health outcomes. This bill, I know, does aim to improve life outcomes for people with Down's syndrome, and we are pleased to support it, and we will do whatever we can to ensure the prompt progress of this bill.
We now come to the Leader of the SNP, Ian Blackford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I wish you?
It's not a pantomime. Oh yeah, exactly. Carry on partying.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I wish you, all your staff, all members in the House, a Merry Christmas and a good New Year when it comes, and send my thanks to those in the front line, our emergency service, our armed forces, for everything that they have done to get us through this year. Mr. Speaker, the public understands the threat that Omicron poses to all our people and to our NHS. But we saw from last night's vote the Tories might be privileged enough to live in denial about this danger, but the rest of us have the responsibility to live in the real world. That means increasing public health measures and increasing financial support for businesses and workers. The Scottish Government is delivering £100 million from our fixed budget to support businesses. But we all know that more is needed. Yesterday, the UK Government put out a press release saying that new financial support was coming. But last night, the Treasury U-turned saying no new money was available. So, Prime Minister, which is it? Is there any new money to support businesses? Or was it all just smoke and mirrors once again?
I'm grateful to the right honourable gentleman, and I share some of the points that he made about the importance of being vigilant about Omicron. I think it's good that he set that out. I think it's important that we continue to work with the Scottish administration as we do to help everybody through it. There is more money, as he knows, through Barnett consequentials. There are also further powers under the existing devolutionary settlement for the Scottish administration to raise money if it chooses to, and they have that option. But we will of course continue with the discussions with the Scottish administration.
Ian Blackford.
Mr. Speaker, that simply wasn't an answer, and it really just does confirm it's all smoke and mirrors. There was no new money for Scotland. Once again, the Prime Minister can't trust a word that this Prime Minister says. Dodgy dealings on renovations and his distant relationship with the truth. All of it has left him weak. Last night, this UK Government struggled to get measures through this House that Scotland has had for months. A Prime Minister who can't do what is needed to protect the public is no Prime Minister at all. Mr. Speaker, nobody wants further restrictions, but Scotland can't afford to be hamstrung if the Prime Minister can't act because he's got 99 problems behind him. So will he give the devolved governments the powers and financial support that we need to protect our people?
Mr. Speaker, I think we're going to need a bit bigger waistcoat to contain the synthetic indignation of the right honourable gentleman, quite frankly. If I can just tell him that there are the powers. The Scottish administration has the powers. But what we've also done, Mr. Speaker, is a record settlement, for Scotland, £41 billion. But I, in all friendship with the right honourable gentleman, who I'm actually quite cordial with behind the scenes, Mr. Speaker, we will work with the Scottish Government to make sure that we get through this thing together.
Sir Robert Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Stroke is the leading cause of adult disability in the United Kingdom. It's the fourth largest killer, we've made much progress, but regrettably, in the last couple of years, key treatments like thrombectomy, thrombolysis and timely interventions in hospital have actually stalled and gone backwards. In particular, most stroke survivors do not receive less than half the recommended levels of rehabilitation, something which the Prime Minister knows my own family have experienced. Can we urgently look to upgrade the very good National Stroke Plan into a fully fledged national strategy for stroke, with a minister responsible for it and a dedicated team of officials in the department to roll that out, please?
I want to thank my right honourable friend for that question. I know he and I have discussed before his own personal reasons for caring so much about this issue, and I understand and I sympathise deeply with what he's saying. And that's why one of the reasons why I want to make sure that we do invest enough in this. There are 20 integrated stroke networks in England already. What we want to do is increase their capacity by about tenfold, Mr. Speaker. Very happy to make sure that he has the right meeting with the relevant minister to discuss the matter. But that's why it's so important that we invest now in our NHS in the way that we are. And what a pity that essential measure could not be supported by the party opposite.
The Minister.
Speaker, the Prime Minister's actions over the last number of months have absolutely eroded public confidence at the worst possible time in a public health crisis, excusing rule-breaking by his own MPs, ignoring rule-breaking in his own House. He can't even lead Tory MPs to vote for his public health guidance. How does he expect to lead anybody else? Surely now it is time, Mr. Speaker, for him to do the right thing, the only thing left to him to restore public confidence, and resign.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.